Hi, I am Allie Camaletti, and you are listening to Snack Leadership. I will be talking about everything leadership, broken down into bite-sized pieces. You will hear what different leadership skills look like in organizations and how they can rise teams up or take them down. I help leaders build resilience and improve performance by bringing awareness to opportunity behaviors in my business. Spark your mindset. I provide leadership and sales coaching, as well as team building and guest speaking. My hope is for you to feel inspiration and to create a spark in your mindset. Today we are talking about kindness. Kindness is the quality of being friendly, generous, considerate, and helpful. It is not for the benefit of self. It is altruistic. I am talking with Justin Freeman, owner and operator of Bagel and Oregon Copacking in the Eugene, Springfield metro area, as well as consultant with businesses on strategy and getting unstuck. He also serves on the board of Oregon Tilth and Supervisory Committee of Oregon Community Credit Union. His education background is in information technology, bioinformatics, and biological research. In this podcast, Justin talks about kindness in connection with the Choose Kindness Foundation. Get ready to hear what kindness is all about. Hi, Justin. Thank you so much for joining us today and talking about kindness.
Hey, Allie, it's good to be here. Thanks so much.
I always like to start with what made you embrace this leadership skill of kindness?
You know, it's funny. I think I got really lucky early in my career. Kind of what makes you embrace anything? I think it can be a number of things. Can be something that you've read, something that you've learned formally, or I think for a lot of us, it's something that you've seen modeled. And, you know, when it comes to leadership styles, when we're early in our careers, we can kind of try on a lot of different leadership hats.
Oh, yeah.
Do I want to be, do I want to be this kind of leader? Do I want to be that kind? And thankfully for me, really early in my career, I had leaders who were powerful, who were inspiring, who demanded a lot from me, but who also were tremendously kind. And I think I was lucky enough, one, to experience that, but two, also to absorb that and realize that this could be something that I could replicate in myself and that I should.
Yeah, that's awesome. So talk to me about this initiative.
Yeah, so we have an initiative called the Kind and Effective Workplaces Initiative. And it's a project that is sponsored by a wonderful nonprofit based in Oregon called the Choose Kindness Foundation. And the Choose Kindness Foundation exists to help people experience more kindness in their lives across all ages and stages. And so they have different projects that they support that really reach out to and focus on helping people both give and receive kindness to themselves and to others in different areas. And they started off working with people who were actually in a surprising way in the correctional system. So
Wow.
people who were incarcerated, many of whom for some very unkind acts, and let your imagination kind of wander there, and spending time in some really unkind environments, as you might imagine.
Yes.
And you know, they had a lot of success in seeing personal transformation in these people spending time in the correctional facility. Their work then expanded into working with school children. As we know, anything that we can teach at a young age is something that can have a great impact. I mean, like I just mentioned about early in my career, seeing kindness modeled professionally helped me throughout my career. And so the same thought was with these school children. So the third thing they've done is wanted to reach out and work with people in the workplace. And how does it that we can drive more kindness in a place where most adults spend most of their waking hours? You know, on the average, Monday through Friday, you might spend more time awake and at work with your coworkers than you do with your family.
Yes.
So how do we make that kind? And so it's been a wonderful, I'd say a wonderful year partnering with the foundation, seeing the great work that they're doing already with folks in the correctional system. You know, they're working with over 1,000 individuals right now there. And then in the school systems, they're working with 46,000 students. And we've gotten a little bit of a later start because they wanted to focus on this third, but we're scaling pretty rapidly as well.
Oh, I love it so much. One of the reasons why I do love our state of
Yes.
Oregon that I grew up in, and something I talk a lot about with my 4.5-year-old daughter, right?
Well,
They're learning how to navigate and kindness. As you say that, it is a big topic for us and how she treats others. Yeah.
that's so important, and it's hopefully something that sticks with you throughout life. And so one of the things that we really try and do is help people refocus, maybe if they've lost a sense of kindness in their lives,
Yes.
learn new skills and new ways to see how they can be kind, but also at the same time recognizing, and we highlight this in the initiative name, that it's kind and effective. One of the challenges I think a lot of people struggle with in the work environment is they feel like they live in kind of an elbows out world where I've got to look out for number one all the time. And if I'm kind, I'll sacrifice my own personal or professional effectiveness. You know, I will be less capable. I'll be less able to get what I need out of work. And instead, what we see consistently is that when you bring kindness to work in an intentional and consistent way, you can actually improve your own effectiveness, your team's effectiveness, and your organization's effectiveness, which serves you, your coworkers, and the people you come into contact with, be it customers, clients, patients, vendors, or people in the community.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that leads us right into you have your own company called Bagel out of Eugene, Oregon. What does it look like in your culture where you bring in kindness?
That's a great question. It's been a wonderful experience owning Bagelsphere for the last, oh gosh, it's been almost 5 years now. And starting off in my career, like I said, I'd seen kindness modeled for me by these leaders. And I'd since then worked with some leaders who were very kind and some who were very, very unkind. And so I got a lot of sense of what to do and what not to do. And so when I had the opportunity to run my own organization, I thought, okay, let's go ahead and pay back the investment that all of these kind leaders made in me and share that with our team. So kindness in our organization really starts with me. You can't have the number two person in an organization be committed to a value if the number one person is not. That top person, be it an owner, executive director, president of the board, CEO, if that person is not committed to personally living out a value in the business, it doesn't mean anything because everyone will see right through that and go, okay, what we're being told to do is not really what matters to leadership. So for me, it comes down to some very simple things. One, in the 5 years that I've had the company, my team's never heard me yell. I don't yell at them at all. I don't insult them. I don't gossip. I don't make inappropriate jokes. These are very simple things, but they're things that oftentimes find their way into the workplace.
Oh, yes.
And I need to start with me. I need to make sure that I model the type of day to day communication that I want my team to have. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that I make sure that I continue to cast vision for our team. What is it that you're here for? And so I know in the baking world, we'll have some people who view their work as career work and some people who view their work as a temporary job. And that's true in so many industries. I know you and I met at a vacation rental professionals conference. And for a lot of people who work maybe in housekeeping or front of house or customer service, that's sort of the same thing for them. They might view this as a temporary stop in their career, a 1, 2, or 3 year period of time before they move on to whatever's next. And
Which is
so
common in
it
hospitality.
is absolutely, and that's one of the things that makes them really great jobs is that they're training grounds. They're places where you can learn a tremendous amount of skills and you can decide for yourself either, you know what, this is me. I want to be here. I want to continue in this, or I want to take what I've learned and do the next thing. And so that second part right there is one thing I really communicate to my team, which is if you think that this isn't going to be you long term. That's great. I'm totally glad for you. I want you to know that. I don't want you to feel the tension of, oh, Justin's trying to keep me here in the baking industry forever. Of course, we'd love you to stay if it's the right fit. But what I tell all of our team members is whether you're going to be here or you're going to move on and do something else, don't spend your time here. Invest it. What is it that you can do to make yourself better in any way? Can you learn a skill? Can you learn how to communicate more effectively with somebody else? How can we help you grow?
One of the
So
most
that,
beautiful things that I watched a leader do was somebody was ready to leave the position, and it was a frontline position like you described. And he said, I'm here to support you. If you need help, I'm happy to look over your resume. I'm happy to give you references, whatever you need. And I was just so excited to hear that from a leader because that is kindness.
it is so important because it's exactly what you would want somebody else to do for you. And they probably have done for you. And so, really helping our team members develop a growth mindset is so important. And we have to make sure that we keep that as consistent as we can, even to where we work very hard at promoting leaders from within. Very
Yes.
hard. In fact, I think on our current leadership team, every single person at a supervisory level grew up from an entry level position within the company, which is
Oh,
exactly where we want to be. And that took us a
yeah.
lot of time to get there. And of course, not every position, not every role is that going to be appropriate, or every phase in a company's growth. Sometimes you're going to go into a new market or try something completely new, and you need to bring in that outside expertise. And that's great. But that's the other thing we do about kindness is we make sure when we recruit that we bring in people who understand the culture. We don't want to bring in unkind people and poison the well.
Yeah, those
Yeah.
values matching is so key. It's so key. You know, you alluded to what it looks like in cultures when kindness isn't happening, right? And how not to do those things. Is there anything else that you have watched as really disrupting and against kindness in a company?
Yeah. And I think, one of the things that we say in the initiative is that kindness is essential and it starts with you. And so unkindness also starts with you. So when we look at an unkind organization, a lot of times what we're talking about are people who are either choosing to be unkind or are just inadvertently unkind. And so there's a couple of things that we see. One is think about the person you may have experienced sometime in your life who is a wonderful father, wonderful mother, wonderful grandchild, friend, girlfriend, whatever they are. And then they walk into work and they just put on their unkind hat and they're just not good to be around. Then at the end of the day, they go out the door and they're great again. They have this tremendous sense of what it means to be kind and caring and loving and supportive, and they don't express that at all at work. And so sometimes we see that people just have never considered that that might be appropriate at work. Other times, people come out of a place, frankly, of trauma where they've experienced such difficult situations at work that unkindness compartmentalized at work is a defense mechanism and it's adaptive to prevent them from being hurt again. And I understand
Ah,
that,
I
you
love
know.
that you're talking about this. So I have been frustrated with this old school mentality of when we come into work, we leave it at the door, right? And I think it gets confused, and that's exactly what you're speaking to.
It is so difficult to ask somebody to do that. In fact, I think it's even more unkind to have somebody do that because what you're saying is, okay, perform mental and emotional surgery on yourself every single morning
Yeah.
before you walk in the door. And then when you leave, cobble that all back together. How is somebody exactly supposed to do that? So we see, like I said, a lot of times those are some root causes of unkindness. Another thing we see in leaders is that leaders who, for whatever reason, feel threatened
Yeah.
or feel like they need to have a bit of a mask up, I think imposter syndrome is very real, and it's very real among leaders. And it's not talked about enough, where a leader might go, I'm not exactly sure how secure I am in my position. Therefore, I'm going to do everything possible to make everyone around me feel like I'm secure in my position. And that lack of self awareness, that inability to address the faults and flaws that every single one of us have, that can lead to a lot of unkindness. And so, one of the things that we really talk about a lot in our work is helping people see, you know, it's okay to have flaws. It means you're a human.
Right. Yeah.
we haven't figured out how to make all of us perfect yet. If we do, you and I can retire and not work anymore. But until that day, every single one of us has things that we bring to work, or we bring to our personal lives or interactions with one another, where we are imperfect, and that's okay. And so we really try and work with people to help lower defenses and see things through a growth mindset, where change is a good thing, and you don't have to be unkind trying to hide your flaws.
Yeah. It speaks to Jim Collins at level 5 leadership. If you're always working on yourself, and that's the way it should be. Like, nobody is perfect. And I talk about perfectionism, and we just had a podcast on perfectionism that really comes up, I feel, in the workplace and just as humans that we can go to often. So I'm glad that you spoke to that. I see that in different leaders, that insecurity and that imposter syndrome is so common.
It really, as I say, it really is. And one of the downstream effects of that that's really important is when you are able to look at yourself and have an honest appraisal of where you're at, and look at yourself in a non-judgmental way and go, you know what? There's things that I'm going to be able to improve, and I'm not going to judge myself for where I'm at. When
Yeah.
you're able to do that for yourself, it positions you so that you're able to be gracious to those around you and allow things for, like, your coworker to just have a bad day, your
Totally.
coworker to make a mistake, your supervisor or one of your direct reports screwing something up. When you're gracious to yourself, you can be gracious to other people. And it's really hard to give somebody else something that you don't already have. And so we want people, especially leaders, to understand how important and how okay it is to make mistakes, to have
Yes.
challenges. And then once you've done that for yourself, don't selfishly hold on to that. Extend the same, obviously within reason and limits, to others, because some things do need to be called out. Some things do need to be
Yes.
corrected. This isn't Pollyanna. We're talking about kind and effective, like I said. And so we really, like I said, we really focus on people being kind to themselves, and not in a narcissistic, self-centered, looking in the mirror everywhere you look kind of way. We want you to be kind to yourself so that you can immediately turn around and be kind to others.
Yes. Ah, love it. Okay. So, who is your favorite leadership mentor?
Yeah, it was a guy I worked with early in my career. His name was Pat Tolley. We worked together in San Antonio, Texas, and Pat had worked all over the world for really big companies. And the job he had was kind of at the end of his career. And I asked him, I said, Pat, you've made all this money. You've done everything possible in the world. Why are you in this little job? And he said, I'm just here to help young people succeed. I love it. And I believed him. And we stayed in touch literally until the day before he died. And
Oh,
through the rest of his life, he just repeated that sentence often. And he lived it, and he invested in us. And so I think for me, I've taken that with me.
yeah.
How can I help? And not just young people. Um, Maybe as I get older, I'll refer to everyone as young people. I don't know. But how can I help others around me succeed? And if we do that, man, the world's going to be a better place. So
So true. So true. How about a quote that you feel really embodies kindness?
I think there's two. One, I think going right back to what Pat just said about working so that we can help others succeed is so important. Because how that looks to me is, rather than us having two hands up to always receive from others or having two hands down, always helping. We ought to be in a position where we have one hand up, where we've found somebody who's helping us succeed, and then one hand down, grabbing whoever's next behind us. And what I love about that model, and I teach this, and I've modeled this for years, is that model works for everyone wherever they're at. Sometimes you need to be in a full receiving mode, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it doesn't matter who you are. If you're 8 years old, guess what? There's a 7-year-old who can learn from your wisdom, who can learn from your kindness, who can learn from your experience all the way through your life until the end of your life. And so for me, thinking about working so that others can succeed really encapsulates a lot of that for me.
Yes. All right. I'm kind of setting you up here. What is your favorite snack?
Oh, my favorite snack. Well, it's so funny. I try not to snack, which feels like a really bad thing to say on a snack leadership podcast. But I have to give tremendous credit to my wonderful wife, who just last night made this caprese salad bites where she oven roasted cherry tomatoes, and they were just so rich and decadent, and then put them on these little slabs of mozzarella and fresh basil and just the thickest crema of balsamic that I've ever had. And I ate one of them because that's all that was left. I would have eaten 20. So right now, maybe because of recency, that's my favorite snack.
That sounds fabulous. I do love roasted tomatoes. It's one of my favorites. I do that often.
Oh, it's so good. Brings out the flavor quite a bit.
Yeah. Oh, Justin, such good information. And thank you for what you're doing out there in our communities, our state, and across, just really bringing kindness. It's so important right now and really always.
Yeah, we think so. And Allie, thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate that. And for spreading the message of kindness and all the other wonderful leadership principles that you and the folks you have to share. I think we can always learn from one another's wisdom and experience. And, my dad said one time, he said, "Son, you're going to make all sorts of mistakes in life. Just don't make the same ones I did." And so I always think, whenever I can learn and listen from somebody else, that's the best position to be in. So thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you, Justin. Have an awesome day.
You too.
Thank you for tuning in to Snack Leadership. I hope you felt inspiration, motivation, and felt your mindset spark. Snack Leadership is recorded and produced by myself, Ali Camilletti, and music by Shireen Amini.